And how do you answer, I mean, with this in mind, the continued, current calls for the disestablishment of Israel as unjustified and not legitimate?
Well, the first thing I would say is there are 7 million plus Jews living in Israel today. And if you're calling for Israel's disestablishment, which would mean by fire and storm, by conquest and by possible annihilation by atomic weapons, if Iran ever gets them and wants to use them, what you're preaching, if you want to disestablish Israel, is a mass slaughter of 7 million Jews, or at least a large number of them. And is this what you really preach? All these young students who are ignorant of the facts, in my view, of the history of the conflict, are preaching when they say they want Palestine from the river to the sea. And what are you going to do with 7 million Jews? You're going to kill them all? You support the murder of 7 million Jews or the expulsion of 7 million Jews? Would this be justified? They're not thinking. They're not thinking about these things, and they should be thinking about this as well. If you support the Hamas, which wants to destroy Israel and basically get rid of all of its Jews by killing or by expulsion, is this really what you want? That's one thing. But the other argument, I think, the positive argument, this is a negative argument, why you shouldn't be calling for Israel's destruction. But the positive argument, why should Jews not have a state of their own? The Arabs have 24, or is it 25 states, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Persian Gulf. Why should the Arabs have 25 states and the Jews have no state at all? Is this fair? Is this justice? So the Arabs will say, well, it's not us Arabs, it's the Palestinians. When it's convenient for Arabs, they talk about all of the Arab nation, one big Arab nation. When it's convenient, they talk about a separate Palestinian Arabs people or nation. But the truth is the Arabs do have 24, 25 states. The Jews offered the Palestinians a number of times, 1937, 1947, 2000, 2008, a two-state solution. In other words, a compromise based on the establishment of two states, dividing Palestine into two states. And the Arabs have consistently rejected it. The Hamas never talks about two states at all. It just wants to destroy the Jewish state and kill the Jewish people there. The Fatah supposedly says it's willing to have a two-state solution, but when it comes down to it, whenever it's offered to them, they basically say no. So in effect, they basically don't want a two-state solution. They, like the Hamas, also want all of Palestine just for the Arabs. I don't see that that's fair. And I think the Jews have a good case, saying that they have lived there for many, many years. The Arabs came along and conquered the place in the 7th century. If the right of conquest if conquest gives you the right to own a land, then why Jewish conquest is not as viable as Arab conquest as a justification? Jews came and conquered it in 1948. It's just as justified as the Arabs conquering the place in the 7th century as a basis for a claim. But as I say, the Jews did live there for many, many years. The Arabs, incidentally, up to the 19th century, often called the land the Jews' land. They accepted that this belonged to the Jews, but they argued, well, but now it's full of Arabs, so there's no room for the Jews. That was the argument. Not that it didn't belong to the Jews. Maybe it does belong to the Jews, but we're here now, so you can't come along and take it or take some of it or whatever. The Jews say we should have a land also, either for our own security and because we have historic rights to it.